Hi, I'm Bob Woolverton, your Northwest Realty Advisor. And how are you on this beautiful Pacific Northwest day? Me? I'm excited to do this episode. I've wanted to do this episode for quite a long time, and I'm finally getting a chance to do it. Our topic today is about setting the listing price for your home. There's a balance between science and art when setting the listing price, but failure to do the science and setting your listing price too high or too low when you first go on the market can cost you lots of money. So that's our episode today on Northwest Realty Advisor, setting the proper listing price to maximize your gain. Okay, to start off with, let's talk about fair market value. And what is fair market value? Basically, fair market value is created when there's an arm's length transaction. In essence, there's no undue influence on the buyer or the seller, that both parties are voluntarily entering into the transaction for what they believe to be a fair price for the sale and a fair price for the purchase. So there's no undue influence, like say there's a divorce in process, or somebody has to sell really quick for whatever reason. Perhaps they lost judgment in a lawsuit and they need to sell their home quickly, or otherwise they're going to lose it, or whatever the situation may be. There's no outside influences, or it's not just being gifted to a relative for a very low price. So this is what we're looking at, is how to establish fair market value and determine that off of other values that have occurred in the marketplace. Now, when we talk about real estate, what is it that goes into creating the value of a home? Well, you know the old adage with real estate. What is it? It's location, location, location. So here we see an inverted pyramid, which is the hierarchy of value when establishing the fair market value of a home. Obviously, at the top of the pyramid and the greatest influencing factor is location. That obviously includes the neighborhood, the area, community, school districts are a big motivating factor for buyers. The next feature is site features. It has a great amount of influence on the market value, but not as much as location does. But does the property have view or acreage? Is it waterfront property? And if so, how much waterfront footage is there? Or the topography, is it sloped? Is it level? And accessory dwelling units. Even site features could be the part of the community in essence. Is it in a golf community? Is it situated on a golf course? So that could be considered a site feature also that would impact the value of the property. Then we go further down the scale in quality and condition. Again, an influencing factor, but not near as much as the top two. And again, this is the condition of the building. This would be, has it been remodeled? Is it completely remodeled? Or is it a fixer-upper? Or is there just deferred maintenance, basically? The year built, that's a big influencing factor on the quality and condition. Obviously, it was built in 1938 versus 2015. There's a huge difference in construction materials, energy efficiency, and everything that goes along with that. Even with new construction, the reputation of the builder can influence the value also. And then of course the architecture always plays in there. And then to a lesser degree the size and the structure. The approximate square footage, the finished square footage, the size of the lot. Is there covered parking? Is there attached garage, detached garage? Is there a basement? Is it a finished basement? This sort of thing. Now, normally when we do a comparative market analysis, we're trying to find comparable properties, and we're going to use the top three conditions quite extensively to narrow down the pool. Once we narrow down the pool, that's where size and structure is going to start playing more of an influencing factor, and I'll show you that in a little bit also. And then finally in the hierarchy of value is the features, the number of bedrooms and bathrooms, the number of family rooms or rec rooms, or if they even exist, the den room, the bonus room, extra finished rooms, heating and cooling, does it have air conditioning, does it not, is there a pool, is there a hot tub? Outbuildings, is there a wood shop? Is there a place to park an RV? You know, these sorts of things. So these all play into it, but obviously location is the greatest feature or the biggest influencing factor on value, and then we get down to the features of the property itself. So when we set the initial listing price for a home, why is it so critically important to get it right the first time? Why don't we just say, oh, I think my market value is probably about $600,000, but if we listed at $300,000, the market will create a bidding war and we'll get our money and maybe even more. Well, the reality of it is that buyers generally shop near the top of their purchasing power. So if you have a home that has a market value of $600,000, but you're going to list it for far less, thinking you're going to attract more, you'll probably attract the people that can't afford $600,000 because they're looking near the maximum of their buying power. So it's critically important to get that first number right so you're getting your most qualified buyers looking at your home. Now here's a graphic that looks at setting the initial price. So here you have the range of what the seller's desired price is, and then you have the range of the buyer's desired price, and then somewhere where those overlap, that's the margin that we're looking to target. Because obviously a buyer's not going to pay what you think your house is worth, but you're also not going to sell it for the deal that they would love to get. So that's where we have to find what's fair and equitable to both. So this is the sweet spot that we're looking at to find the proper buyer. Now, additionally, with that consideration, the timing is critically important. This graphic shows that the first week or two that your home is in the market is going to by far get the greatest attention of the marketplace. So if your strategy is to think, I'm going to set my price high hoping to get it, and if I don't, in 3 or 4 weeks I'll lower the price, you're going to miss the vast majority of qualified buyers seeing your home. That's why it's so critically important to get it right the first time. Now, if you take that strategy where you say, I'm going to try for a higher price and just try my luck, and it doesn't work, and 3 or 4 weeks down the road you end up lowering your price, this graphic shows on average what happens to most sellers to their original list price to what they ultimately get, depending how far down the calendar they finally sell their property. So generally, if a person sells their home in less than 4 weeks, they're within 2% of their asking price. In this market, we have quite a few examples of going several percentage points over the asking price. You go to 4 to 12 weeks, you're looking at minus 3.6, 13 to 24, down to 5.5%, and more than 24 weeks, 8.9, virtually 9%, potentially even more. So that's why it's so critically important to get the number right the first time. So when you call a real estate agent and invite them to your home so they can be interviewed for the job of listing your home, and they're going to do a market analysis to determine what the listing price of your home should be, when they're walking through your home, they should have a form similar to this value analysis worksheet. Now they may have this form, or they may have one like it, or perhaps they're experienced enough that they can do it off the top of their head. But either way, they should be taking notes when they go through your home so they can record all of the features of your home and make a comparative analysis to come up with the right listing price. Now when you look at this value analysis worksheet, the thing that you will notice is it has the exact same criteria that we saw on that hierarchy of value. It starts with location, then it goes to site features, then it goes to quality, condition, size and structure, and additional features. That exact same components of that inverted pyramid. Now the next sheet that you should see them pull out is something that's related like this. And again, it may be this form, one like it. I doubt that they're going to have all of this committed to memory because there's quite a bit of information here. It's a 2-page form. So here we're looking at the condition of your particular listing so we can compare it to other listings out there on the market to see who the competition is, and of the sold criteria, what is most likely to be comparable to your home. So we look at the roof, the siding, the shutters, we look at the parking, the attached garage, attached garage or detached garage. We're looking at the landscaping, we're looking at all kinds of miscellaneous features, and then we're also looking at the flooring, we're looking at the kitchen appliances, we're looking at the bathrooms, countertops, the cabinets, we're looking at the walls, the windows, the doors, the trim work, the quality, or I should say the condition of all of that, as well as the heating systems. Obviously furnaces are a big thing. If your furnace is on the last legs, the buyer is not going to give you full price thinking they're going to have to replace a furnace relatively soon. So these are the sorts of things we do our best as real estate agents to compare so we can find comparable properties for your home. Okay, remember earlier when I talked about location as it relates to the value of real estate? What I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you a map that's available in tax records, and I'm going to basically create this neighborhood outline so we identify areas by neighborhood. You can see how it draws the purple lines on there. Now this red marker in the center is the address or subject property of a recent competitive market analysis that I did. But we can also add a trend layer here. In essence, we're going to look at the median sale price. Now you see the legend pop up at the bottom because we're zoomed in so close, but even you got this downtown area, and actually let me zoom out one click here. So we've got the downtown neighborhood, and then up on top we've got the Maywood neighborhood, and then over on the left side we've got the West Hill neighborhood. Now if I click on this one neighborhood, it shows me in the last 3 months that the median sales price has been $575,000. Whereas if I go into this other neighborhood, you see that neighborhood, it's been $557,000. And then if I go over here to West Hill, and we click on that one, it's $600,000 over there. So they're not huge shifts, and there are definitely differences in these neighborhoods of when they were established, how established they are. But the one thing that I wanted to show you is I zoom out, and we see the map redrawn here. You also see the legend at the bottom of the screen becomes broader in values. And then as we go south down towards Kirkland and Juanita, you start to see these red values come in. So like we look at South Juanita neighborhood, there we're looking at $665,000 has been the sales price median over the last 3 months, the rolling average. We go to North Kirkland, we're just over $1 million there. And then, of course, if we scroll further south, you see much more red around Yarrow Point, Hunts Point, over on the Seattle side, the Windermere, Laurelhurst neighborhoods. So obviously, location does play a huge factor in the values. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to come back to that original subject property, and we're going to look for all of the active, pending, expired, and solds that have happened in that particular area. So as you see the map populate here with these map pins, what this tells you is there's actually been quite a bit of activity here in the last 3 months. The yellow map pins are the pending listings, the green ones are still active, so that could potentially be the competition, and then the solds are sold properties that have occurred in the last 3 months, which may give us a very good indication of what prices the market will bear in this area. So what we have to do now is we have to narrow down all of these map pins to homes that are close to this location and that have very similar characteristics of our subject property. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to skip part of the research that we do in the tax records. I'm going to switch over to the multiple listing service, and you're going to see very similar map pins of the activity that goes on in this area. So I have my subject property listed here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a radius from that point, and we'll go out, just for this example, we'll only go about a half mile. What I know from experience is that I'm probably going to have to adjust my search a little further than a half mile, but we're just going to start for illustrating purposes here right now. So again, here you see the activity based on that half mile radius near our subject property of the sold properties, the pending properties, and the active, which could potentially be the competition. Now, in this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at all of these properties, which is going to be in the results tab here, and I'm going to sort these by status. Now, I can basically set my search criteria on this page and basically give us a range to work with to narrow these down even further, because you can see from this particular results list that even though we're only a half mile out, we've got quite a few property here to choose from. But I can have the software reduce that down even further for me, because I can tell it, give me a range of bedrooms, give me a range of square footage, give me a range of lot size, give me a range on the year built, that sort of thing. So that'll help narrow this down. So in the interest of time, what I'm going to do is basically have already done that, and I'm going to bring up now where I've narrowed it down to basically 12 properties that are very similar to our subject property. I'm going to sort them by status. So here we have 3 that are active, 1 that's pending, and several that are sold. Okay, so once I've sorted through all those properties and I feel that I've got a good collection of sold properties and active properties that are very similar or as close as I can get with the available data to our subject property, I'm going to compile those into a report. And part of that report is going to look like this particular page right here, where we do the CMA one line in landscape mode. Now, the one thing that I do, and I don't know if anybody else does this, I'm probably not unique in this, but it helps me and it also helps my clients, is I color code the characteristics of these particular properties. So I put a legend in the upper left-hand corner myself, which indicates that if it's blue, like the sky, that those numbers are greater than ours or higher than ours. If it's in green, it's equal to ours, which would be like the grass level, so we're on equal level, and then less than ours indicated in red, or if it's the year built, then that means it's a much older house than ours because the year built is smaller number than ours. So for example, if we looked at this section here where it says sold properties, you can see the first one on the list, it's 4 bedrooms, which is the same as our subject property. Our subject property is 4 bedrooms, 2.75 baths, 2,510 square feet, etc., etc. So 2.5 baths is smaller than ours. 1,900 square feet is smaller than our subject property. The lot size is smaller than ours, but it was built in 1975. Our subject property was built in 1976. For construction standards, that's close enough for me, so I give it a green. The next one down is 3 bedrooms, so it's in red, more red, so those are smaller. The lot size is almost identical to ours, so we marked that one in green. So you get the idea here. Now when we get down to the 4th record, we see 4 bedrooms, but 3.25 baths, so it's marked in blue because it's more than ours. 2780 for square footage, more than ours. So you get the idea, but yet 1974 is marked in green as it's very close to the year that ours was built. So that helps us make some comparison. And when we look at these sold properties, then we look at the price that they actually sold for versus the price they were listed. Now, 4 of these properties sold for either the listing price or more than the listing price, and 2 of them sold for less. Interestingly enough, the 2 that sold for less were only in the market for 12 days and 9 days respectively. So I'm not sure if the seller had some extenuating circumstances that they needed a quick sale and they settled for less, or what the circumstances were there. The amount less in this one case, well, actually the bottom one on Ross Road, I know that one. It was originally way overpriced. How they came to the realization within 9 days that they were so overpriced, I'm not sure. But ultimately they got $720,000 for their house. Now, they probably got a pretty good deal there. So one of the things I will do is look at these sold properties, and I'll go through the MLS with my client so they can see the photos of the house, see how they compare, make sure that they're comfortable that these are relatively close in characteristics to the house that they want to sell. And then once we get a range of where we're looking at, where we feel comfortable that we've got a good listing price, the next step is to look at the competition. And the competition is the active properties. So when we look at the active properties, I color code those in the same way as you also see on this page. Whether it's the same size, whether it's higher, more square footage, or less square footage, year built, that sort of thing. And then we'll also jump out to the MLS. Now, one of the things that we'll see in these active properties is just because they're asking a particular price doesn't mean they're going to get that price. In fact, under these active properties, if we look at the very bottom one, we notice it's been on the market 31 days. Of all the properties that have sold in the last 3 months that are similar to our property, the longest one was 14 days. So here we are, 31 days for this property that's still on market, and they've reduced their price from $775,000 to $750,000, and it's still not moving. So what could be the issue with that? So what I would do then is we would jump over and find that house on the MLS, and we would just real quick take a look at the photos. So let's pop up the photos here for you, and we would run through these photos, take a look at it. We'd look at the characteristics of the house, and we'd make an evaluation. Now, since this house is still active, we could actually make an appointment for both my potential client and myself to go look at this house and compare it to what we're planning on putting on the market and see how we feel about that price. So my guess is that what I'm seeing in the photographs, I'm not seeing any latent defects in the property. So it goes back to the saying that the market's not rejecting your home, the market's rejecting your price. So this home has been on the market for, get back to my report, for 31 days. Remember the charts I showed you earlier, this person is losing value in their home. They're losing interest in their home. Well, let's look at the other one. It's been on the market for 21 days, and it's just up the street from that one. So if we pop back over to the MLS and go back to our single line return, let's see, that one is right here. And we'll look at the photos on this one real quick. Pretty enough from the front. I can't quite tell if that's a gravel walkway or exposed aggregate. It's probably exposed aggregate because I know this neighborhood, and I doubt that that's a gravel walkway. But a nice covered patio. But it has a very bold use of colors. Again, bold use of colors. Now, generally, that doesn't completely turn off your audience, but it can be challenging when people see these photos online and they're like, oh, do I want to take the time to make it into my colors? Are they happy with the look? So what this indicates to me is that these 2 properties might be suffering from being overpriced. But that's our competition. So if we are picking a price that's closer to these, we'll have to evaluate whether we're competitive with those properties or not. And the other properties, 4 days on the market, we don't know what's going to happen with those yet. So once we get comfortable and set a sales price, then what we do is we back out that radius you saw us draw earlier, and we're going to focus what's available on that price. of anything, condos, single family homes, mobile homes, whatever. What's available in now a half-mile or a 1-mile radius, maybe even 2-mile radius? What's available that would be our competition, and how would we stack up? So we would move that competition or move that radius to that level. Okay, so once we've crunched all the numbers, we've looked at all these houses, we've narrowed it down to the comparables, and we have picked a number for listing price. Not only does the seller need to be comfortable with that price based off the data that I've shown them or your agent has shown you, but I, as the agent, also have to be comfortable with that number. And there's two reasons for that. The first reason is I'm investing my own money to market your home with no guarantee of a return. But I'm hedging my bets that my research is adequate, that we're going to sell your house for that price. Because if we want to list your home for some unreasonable inflated price and I don't believe in it, I'm not your agent, because I don't want to invest my money to market your house when I know that it's not going to sell. All I would do is be throwing my money away. That would be ridiculous. So I have to believe in that sales price too. But even more important than that is that if we get that price and then the buyer's lender has an appraisal done and the appraisal comes in low, I have to have facts and figures to show that appraiser why that is indeed a true market value for the home, so that that deal can go through. Otherwise, the buyer will not be able to get their loan. So I have to be able to support those numbers with facts and figures to the appraiser to make sure that we can sell your home as I've promised to you. So there's a whole bunch of criteria. This has been an extremely brief overview of the process. In essence, to really do this process right can take the better part of a day. Sometimes in more complicated circumstances, it can take the better part of 2 days just to crunch these numbers to come up with the facts and figures of what a good market value for your home should be in the current market. And it changes every day. If I do this competitive market analysis next week, all the numbers that we just saw in this demonstration will all be different. So it's good for that day, and that's the best that you can do is up to current date. If we wait, we'd have to do it again. The biggest thing I want you to take away from this is, if you have an agent that comes into your home and walks around and basically gives you a listing price at that time based on their gut feeling, they're probably not doing their due diligence in your best interest. Yes, there's a lot of gut instinct based off of experience and knowledge of the market. When a real estate agent does this every day, all day long, they get a really good feeling for it. But you still have to crunch the numbers, because this market changes every day. And especially in today's market, as things are moving so fast. So there's the science, which is crunching the numbers, and then there's the art side, which is the gut feeling. And you have to have the balance of both to come up with a listing price that's going to maximize your gain. If you have any questions, put them down at the end, put them down in the comment section under the video here. I get all those comments and I will respond to all of them. I also have my contact information down below. If you like what you see, click the subscribe button. Forward the link to a friend if you like what you see. I hope I provided some information of value to you, and I hope it's enough value that you'll come back for more videos. We have new videos every week. Thank you for watching.